We're live.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Fantasy Football Endgame. If you haven't caught our episodes on waiver wire, start sit, streamers, Le'Veon Bell, basically we have everything you need all week long to help you win at fantasy football. That is our end game. Am I right, Chris?
Yep, that's our end game. Help you win. It looks like we're COVID free this week finally, so that was nice.
Well, unfortunately, we have to start with that because our idea initially was to do a game day live show where talk about injuries and who's out and who's in and different situations and now it's always start with the COVID list, right? Who's got it, who isn't, who's playing, which games are not being played. I mean, that's just the way 2020 is. But let's start with that. Actually, you know what? The first thing we do need to talk about is really not COVID related. It's breaking news that you might have already heard about. Melvin Gordon, obviously with that DUI situation. And we heard conflicting reports how he missed practice, right, one day. And then next day, all of a sudden, he was spotted at practice. And then he missed it again. But not surprisingly, he's out, right? Not going to be in the lineup. And they say it's an illness or something random, which, yeah, believe that. But anyways, Melvin Gordon out officially. Unfortunate news also for Noah Fant managers because he has been on the verge of a breakout this year. Not saying he's broken out yet because it's only been 5 weeks. But Noah Fant is also out. He's been questionable. So that Broncos offense, the only good news for them is that they look like they're getting Drew Lock back. So he should be playing. That's not necessarily a player you're going to throw into your lineup, right, to start, even in a 2-quarterback or super flex league. Hopefully you have somebody else that you can roll with. But yeah, get your Brett Rippon, shares off of your team there if you had any. But yeah, Lock is in, Fant is out, Gordon out. So Philip Lindsay, as we talked about in start sit for running backs, he is definitely start worthy because we know he can make some noises, pass catcher too. I wouldn't say shy away from starting Jerry Jeudy because even though this is obviously a tough matchup, he's going to be the guy who's going to get the bulk of the looks here. And then Tim Patrick, you could stream him. I'm not saying I would, but you could. Anything that you think that we need to talk about besides the fact that this game is actually being played, right? As far as I know, there was some talk about the Patriots that they had a test that was positive, and then they said it wasn't a player, it was a staff member or something like, yeah, we don't care, we're going to play anyways. That's what I understand from it.
Yeah, I feel like maybe the NFL is getting more like college football, where it's like, yeah, we got some positives, but we don't care, we're playing anyways. Like I kept hearing reports of like, oh, Jaguars positive practice squad players, this team a positive, this team a positive, but it doesn't matter. All the games are being played. So I don't know, maybe the NFL is kind of going the college route. Like, hey, if you're positive, you just stay home. The rest of the team, let's go. We're going to play. So, yeah, Lindsay, the obvious choice here. If you've got Lindsay, I think you feel okay about playing him. It's not the greatest matchup against New England, but still, he's going to get the bulk of the work. Royce Freeman, if you're in a really deep league and you're desperate, should get some looks and will more than likely get some goal line looks if they get to the goal line. So yeah, and Drew Lock is in. He's healthy. He's good to go. So that definitely helps the offense. So yeah.
Yeah, that's not just saying this as a obviously Patriot hater, Dolphin fan here, but it's true. I I heard something about that. They're like, yeah, they're going to push on, they're going to play. Like they don't really care, and that seems to be the trend because we're seeing more and more teams, and I think it was up to like maybe 4 different teams that at some point had a positive or a false positive test, and it really didn't do it. They didn't even look at the schedule. They're like, okay, well, I think you'll be clear by Sunday. And some of them were false positives, so I get that. But like it was the Colts, the Falcons, right? All these other teams. And right now, I don't think any game has been postponed. So I guess it's good, but also it's a little scary. But anyways, as of right now, your schedule should be the same. So hopefully there's no last minute worries there with complete, cancellations.
According to Adam Schefter this
Now,
morning, according to Adam Schefter this morning, he tweeted out, no new positives, all the games are on, which is
well, there you
nice,
go.
right?
If
It's
it's
the first, I think it's the first week we've had since maybe week 1 or week 2 where there's no stress about games. So that's kind of nice.
that is one ray of light in this 2020 season / year. Now that doesn't mean that the rest of the season we're good. Like, oh, it's over. It's not over. Actually, the cases are going up nationwide. So, this week, let's just be glad that this week is good. Okay, so let's get on to un-COVID related things. Dalvin Cook, obviously out. Alexander Madison. Now that game is a full go, must start. I have him as top 10 running back. You have Madison that high?
I'm top five. Top five.
Oh,
For me,
well, there you go.
if you have Alexander Madison, you start him. There's very few guys I would start over Alexander Madison. So if your start sit question today involves Madison or running back X, it's probably Madison, because unless running back X is like a no doubt about it guy, it's Madison, right? He's in line for close to 20 touches. Atlanta gets destroyed by running backs in the passing game. He should get a decent share of work in the passing game. And I expect Minnesota just to really rely, even though I know a lot of people like the Minnesota passing game today with Cousins and Thielen and Jefferson and everything. I think they're going to rely more on the running game, try to slow the game down. Julio being back for Atlanta helps that offense, but that offense hasn't really been clicking like we're used to.
No, you would think, based on the defense or lack of defense here, and based on what our expectations were, this should be a shootout. This should be all about the passing game, but not necessarily. Todd Gurley has been coming on, and I think maybe the fact that Raheem Morris, more defensive-minded guy. I know Dan Quinn used to be a DC, but he clearly did not care too much about defense when he was head coach. But it might be, to the point where he's like, I'm not going to leave my defense hanging. Maybe we won't throw the ball 50 times and, hope to win that way. Maybe we'll actually try to get Gurley going and control the game. So anyways, yeah, I got Gurley as a top 10 running back, got Madison as a top 10 running back. So you're pretty good there. So the answer to both those is yes. Now, Deontay Johnson, a lot of questions about the Steelers wide receiver group. Deontay Johnson out again. This is why I've been telling people all week, keep Claypool in your lineup. Don't just add him. Yes, you can start him. No, he's not going to score 4 touchdowns, but guys, he is involved. This wasn't just an outlier game, right? He's scored a touchdown earlier in the year. He's going to be involved. His target share is almost the same as the other wide receivers, right? Same as James Washington. It's almost the same as Juju. All right. So I'm starting Claypool this week, especially now that it's official Deontay Johnson is out.
Yeah, I agree. I was not too high on Claypool as far as a waiver pickup this week, just because, I'm worried about Deontay Johnson comes back, James Washington's involved, but with Deontay Johnson out, now I feel great. This is a great matchup. I don't think we talked about it on the start sit, but I don't think a lot of people realize how bad both these defenses are against the pass, right? You think, oh, Pittsburgh, great defense, but Pittsburgh's really good against the run, really terrible against the pass. They've been getting lit up, and Cleveland especially even worse against the pass. So I really like this entire Pittsburgh passing attack. Now that Deontay Johnson is out, I think you could fire up Chase Claypool as a wide receiver too. And in one league where I have to decide between him and Justin Jefferson, I'm going with Chase Claypool. So if that should let you know kind of where I stand on Chase Claypool this week.
Wow. All right. And we just talked about that Minnesota game. Jefferson, you think great matchup on paper against the Falcons secondary, and it is. But Claypool's matchup is almost as good. So if you're feeling good about him, then yeah, you can do that. That's a tougher call right there. Personally, I don't know if I have him that high. I think I have Jefferson ahead of him. But yeah, that's a judgment call right there. Speaking of some wide receivers that you maybe don't want in your lineup, even if they're back, Alshon Jeffrey and Deshaun Jackson. I know there was some noise talking about how they might be ready. And I think Alshon Jeffrey's inching towards his comeback. What a tease. But not going to play. Both of them have been rolled out for this week. So, we talked about Claypool. Some people spent some fab on him this week. Some people also spent fab on Travis Fulgham. I was not one of them. I know you feel the same as me on this. With those guys still not back and Ertz kind of disappearing, if you did spend some fab on Fulgham, are you playing him this week?
Oh man. I mean, I'd have to be really desperate, right, to play him this week. I mean, we know this to me, this is like Chase Claypool's a little bit of chasing points, but because Deontay Johnson is out and because it's such a good matchup, and because, like you said, we've seen him involved in the offense, I feel better about it. But this is really chasing points, right? This is really chasing points, and I never like to chase points because where has he been all year? We talked about it. It's not like the Eagles have had this, healthy group of wide receivers all year. Like it's been the same situation every week, right? No Alshon, no Deshaun Jackson. Goddard's been out for weeks now. Where was he prior to last week? So, I mean, if you're in like a really deep league and you got, Lockett or Metcalf or Thomas or these guys on a bye and you don't have a choice, fine, I get it. But yeah, I'd have to be really desperate.
Yeah, I didn't make any bids for Fulgham just because, I'm putting the stamp on him, 1 week wonder. Not to diss him, but honestly, the situation here is what I hate more than not the player. It's you mentioned the Eagles' offense, right? That's it. That's the problem because Carson Wentz has been certifiably bad this year. Not just throwing picks, but his bad throw percentage was, I think, second in the league going into last week, and something's off. All right, and then here's the fact that all the offensive linemen that they had going in as starters this year, I think 3 of them are on IR and a 4th one is injured. Their offensive line has been wiped out, which is also why this might be a good time to sell on Miles Sanders. Great player, but he's not going to get you consistent 100-yard games like you could behind a healthy O-line. So, yeah, I don't trust that offense just in general, right? That was a matchup-based, outlier performance to me. And we could just as easily see Ertz get 8 catches this week when he disappeared because they're going to go to whatever works because they don't have that many options. I mean, honestly, they just don't. They're going to have to do what works. So, yeah, I'm out against the Ravens. Yeah, I think it could get ugly, honestly. And then here's another big question. So let's talk about those guys that have the Q next to their name, the questionable tag, which we hate, but you got to make tough decisions. So right now, let's talk about DJ Chark. I kind of got the impression from what I read that he was trending towards playing, but we're hearing was a game time decision still.
Yeah, well, according to Adam Schefter, let me see if I can pull up the tweet. He said that it's trending towards playing. What was his exact tweet? Trending toward So listed as questionable for Sunday with an ankle injury, is likely to play against the Lions, but Jacksonville first wants him to test him pregame before making any final decision. So whenever I hear that, I get nervous, right? Because you always run the risk. Well, I think they have the 10 o'clock game, so it might not matter the early game. But you run the risk they test him in pregame and decide, nope, can't go. But also you run the risk that they test him in pregame and he's like, yeah, I think I'm okay. And then he gets out there and plays a few series and tweaks it, or it starts to bother him and he comes out of the game and doesn't play anymore. Not to mention, Chark was on my panic list this week because he hasn't really been doing anything anyways. So, right, I think, Chenault has been breaking out. Keelan Cole's been more involved. I just think at this point with DJ Chark, if I have DJ Chark, I get it. You might have to play him. You might not have a better option. But if you have a better option, I'd prefer to sit him this week, not worry about it, not run the risk that he goes out there, plays 2 or 3 series and then limps off the field and you don't see him again and you take, a 0 or something on the week. Because he hasn't really been giving you much anyways to begin with.
Yeah, with Chark, that's an interesting point because, you think he's, obviously the wide receiver on his team locked in, should be a top 20 guy each week because this is a team that surprisingly is passing the ball a lot. Although I guess it shouldn't be too surprising since their defense is horrible. They're going to have to pass the ball a lot. So in week 1, he didn't see a whole lot of action. Week 2, then he did. He got 84 yards. He missed that one game with an injury, and then he came back, huge game against Cincinnati, right? 95 yards, 8 catches, 2 touchdowns. But then last week was quiet again, 3 catches for 16 yards. And you're right. I'm a big fan of Chenault, and he's been coming on. It's a steady climb. Chenault's target share has been going up. It's actually been going up by 2 every other week. So he should get 10 targets this week, I think. But yeah, Chark is a guy that obviously it's hard to sit, but think about Julio a couple weeks ago. He was a game time decision, right? Is he going to be good to go? And he played, and it didn't turn out too good. I think he caught 0 passes for 0 yards or something like that. So it is tough. If it's a game time decision, he could easily 5 minutes beforehand say like, nah, I'm not feeling it. And then he's out. And then obviously you're screwed. I would feel much better having Chenault in my lineup. And who actually I like a lot is Keelan Cole. Because this is a team that's going to pass the ball. This is a defense against the Lions that's going to be very vulnerable in the secondary. And I think they could very easily go to Cole, whether Chark is in or not, because he might not be 100%. So I like Chenault. I like Cole. I would be very hesitant to put Chark in my lineup. I would just say that. But if the words they use seem very positive in nature, like, yeah, he's good, then I guess you can put him in there, but it depends who else you got. So. And let's keep going with some good news, some ins. These are guys I mentioned. Julio, he is in, and I guess he's just 100% now because he didn't even have a questionable tag going into this week. Chris Godwin officially in. Devontae Adams, we knew he would be in. So all good news there. And also on the Browns side, Odell Beckham, who always seems to be questionable, he is in, and so is Jarvis Landry. So let's go to the flip side of that equation. The Browns, instead of the Steelers wide receivers, how good do you feel about those two guys going against a pretty good Steelers defense, but one that's probably better against the run than the pass?
Yeah, I talked about it. This defense actually isn't very good against receivers, which not a lot of people realize. They just think Pittsburgh, good defense. I like Odell a lot. And if any of you out there listening play DraftKings or something like that, I think Odell is a great play this week. On DraftKings, he's only like 6,400. He's got massive, massive upside in a matchup that a lot of people I think are going to say, oh, it's Steelers, stay away from that. But it's actually a good matchup. I don't think it'll be very highly owned either. Landry, I mean, Landry's fine this week. It's a good matchup. So he's fine, but I just feel like this is an Odell week. Landry's been doing okay as far as getting his, but even in down weeks, Mayfield's been targeting Odell a lot. So I definitely prefer Odell, but I think both these guys are fine plays this week.
Yeah, and that's why you can't just look at, good defense, bad defense. You have to look not just even versus the pass, look at versus the position, and then go deeper. How is this team against wide receiver versus slot receivers versus the outside? So, you really have to dig as deep as possible. We do that for you, of course. That's why we're trying to help you out. Let's talk about in that Division 2, AJ Green. Looks like he's good to go. But do you really care for fantasy at this point? We can't be starting AJ Green, can we?
No, it's crazy because the first 2 weeks it was like Burrow didn't throw to anybody but AJ Green, and then since then he's barely even looked at him. And then last week we saw on that, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, or whenever it was, we saw that interception where AJ Green looked like he was just like, whatever, I don't care. And then apparently was on the bench, and if you're a good lip reader, apparently was saying like trade me or something like that. So who knows what's going on.
I was going to say, didn't he actually demand a trade, or didn't they say he asked for a trade? Maybe, I don't know, it was publicly or privately, but is that still a thing? He did ask for a trade, right?
I don't know if that was an official report. It was something where the cameras were on him and the coach on the sidelines, and you could kind of, if you read his lips, he said something like just trade me or something to that effect. But in the heat of the moment during a game, people say stuff. It doesn't mean after the game he didn't say, hey, I don't really want to be traded. Who knows? But the fact is, it doesn't matter because, Burrow's been looking more towards Boyd. He's been looking more towards T. Higgins. And plus, AJ Green, even though he was getting all those targets, it wasn't like he was getting tons of separation. It wasn't like he was looking like the AJ Green in his prime. Like he looked like the AJ Green who hadn't played football in almost 2 years and, was dealing with injuries. So, yeah, no part of AJ Green this week.
Yeah, so that would be, I guess, an unofficial request. But it's interesting, though, you bring that up because Auden Tate, who is like their fifth receiver, wasn't going to be big, part of their plans. But he officially requested a trade a couple weeks ago. And now if you have AJ Green, you got to kind of wonder, is something going on here? Why these guys went out? Is it just they're thinking, okay, well, they got Higgins, they got Boyd, they're set. We're not part of their plans. Or is there something else going on? Maybe they're not super happy in their environment. But anyways, don't start AJ Green. John Brown, another receiver here for Buffalo, questionable still, been battling that calf injury. I wonder if he's maybe playable if he does start, because he's been dealing with this for a couple of weeks now, and then tough matchup. You think it might be a high scoring game, but it's not a great matchup for wide receivers because the Chiefs shut receivers down generally.
Yeah, but I think if he plays, you got to start him. The problem here is it's Monday night, so can you really wait around to see if he plays or not? Now, if you have Gabriel Davis or Cole Beasley, then I think you can wait because obviously those guys would be great pivots. Or if you have somebody on the Chiefs side like McCole Hardman, then you can wait and see. But yeah, I think just because he's tied to Josh Allen in that offense, and this has all the makings of a shootout, right? Yeah. KC's not the best defense to target for wide receivers, but if KC's going to, we know the Bills have been terrible against wide receivers, right? We saw the Titans light them up last week through the passing game. even though Derrick Henry had those 2 touchdowns, he did very little on the ground because they're a good run defense, but they're not very good against the pass. So this has all the makings of a shootout. You got to think that if the Chiefs are going to drop 30 points on the Bills, Josh Allen's going to be throwing the ball, 40, close to 40 times, which is good for the receivers. So I definitely think if John Brown plays, you got to start him.
Okay, so there you go. I probably have him a little bit lower just because the fact that he's missed a couple weeks and is still questionable leads me to think that he's very iffy. There's a really good chance that the plug gets pulled on him, and I don't want to wait until Monday night. If I do have Gabriel Davis already and I can go to him, then I guess if that's your situation, you can say, okay, I'll just swap Davis in for Brown. So that might be the smart play if you don't have somebody higher up that you can put in for Brown. And then the last thing I think as far as notes is Leonard Fournette. I'm seeing that he's in. He's been questionable all week, questionable in general on your fantasy bench. But Leonard Fournette, obviously you're not playing him, right? You can't play him. But does this affect Ronald Jones in any way?
No, because it sounds like he's in, but it's kind of similar to what it was last game where he's there, but we really don't want to play him. He's more just there if we absolutely need him. So I don't expect Leonard Fournette to see the field much at all. I expect similar usage for Ronald Jones. Now, one downside is I believe LaShawn McCoy is in. I want to verify that, which may hurt Ronald Jones in the passing game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, McCoy is in. So that may hurt him a little bit in the passing game, but I still like Ronald Jones a lot. I still expect him to get plenty of the work here. But no, Leonard Fournette is just – he's on the active roster so that they have a third running back. He's not going to actually do anything.
Yeah, exactly. They might break him out in the fourth quarter if they need him, but no, Ronald Jones has been doing just fine, so there's no reason not to keep going with him.
Yeah.
All right. Any other breaking news? Because I know you're manning the internet there as we're going. Anything else that we need to know about?
No, it looks like actually they did just announce that DJ Chark is active. But again, I feel the same way I did. I get it if you have to play DJ Chark because, we got some wide receivers on bye this week, but I don't feel great about it. So,
yeah. All right. And then, guys, that we have this every Sunday. If you have start-sit questions, you send them in on Twitter at Endgame Fantasy. You can put them in the chat here, right? That's what we're here to do, is to help. We have this time dedicated to you because that's our whole objective here, is to help you win.
Yep. We're ready to go through them. We got quite a few.
Oh, all right. Well, let's do it.
Okay. So Evan asks, would you flex Devin Singletary or Darius Slayton this week in half PPR?
Half PPR. Okay, so Slayton is a go from what I've heard, that he's good to go. He's been questionable too this week. The only problem is Zach Moss is also a full go. He has no injury designation, so that means it's back to the 50-50 workload. Whether you like it or not, that's what it is, right? The Bills running backs are not going to get a ton of touches individually. So, I mean, Singletary to me is a big play dependent, like always. Moss is going to steal some of the work in the passing game. I'd rather have Slayton because we know the upside there. And also, if the game goes the way you're saying, which I kind of can believe, the Chiefs might score a lot of points here, the Bills might not have the luxury of running the ball that much. So yeah, to me, I'm out on Singletary. I'd rather have Slayton.
Yeah, I think it's Slayton for me too. It's a little bit closer. Half PPR makes it closer to me. If it was full PPR, it would be easily Slayton. That half PPR makes it a little closer for me, but I agree with you. If Zach Moss was out, I would definitely prefer Singletary, but with Moss back, I think I like the upside of Slayton this week. Even though I expect that to be a low-scoring game, that Washington defense, that secondary, he could take advantage of it. So,
right.
All right, Kevin Ferrand, I apologize if I mispronounce your last name, asks, Lindsey at New England or Harris versus Denver? So we're looking at either side of the ball here. You want the Broncos starting running back or the Patriots starting running back? Although maybe the Patriots starting running back is Cam Newton, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Generally, I would say not the Patriots running back. And actually, I'll still stick with that because Lindsey, with Gordon out, we know he's going to get his share of touches, especially, again, this passing game is hurt. No Fant, no Sutton. They're going to give Lindsey a ton of work. And then it's not so much that I'm hating on the Patriots running back situation or that I don't trust Harris. It's just this matchup with Cam Newton back especially, we don't know how many touches he's going to get. He doesn't have that floor in the passing game. So to me, it's Lindsey. I got Lindsey as my RB 19 this week, which may be higher than some other people, but I don't care. And I got Damien Harris at 23. So it's not a huge difference, but to me, it's Lindsey.
Yeah, I agree. It's Lindsey. We know he's going to get the bulk of the work, and he's going to get work in the passing game. So I agree. It's Lindsey. All right, Rodney. Again, I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Rodney Hun asks, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark, Tim Patrick, or Frank Gore. I assume we're picking one out of those four.
Okay, so again, Tyler Boyd, DJ Chark, Frank Gore, and
Tim Patrick. This is pretty easy.
Okay, so not Tim Patrick. I love me some Frank Gore, but no, not compared to those two guys. So Boyd or
Chark.
Got to go Boyd, just because, like you said, there's a risk that Chark, doesn't get his usual target share. As far as the matchup itself, I think Boyd doesn't have a great matchup. All right, I'll admit that, and I would have Chark ranked higher if he was fully healthy. But that's just, do you want to risk that he gives you either 0 or something close to a 0? You know what I mean? When Boyd is safe for a good few points at the very least.
Yeah, I agree. I got to go Boyd here. Not super excited about him this week, but I'm more excited about him than any of those other guys. All right. Abel Encarnacion asks, this seems pretty easy to me, but let's hear what you got to say. Got Jefferson, Boyd, and Julio as flex options. Who should I start? Little scared with starting Julio half-point PPR.
I get that, but I don't know. You're probably thinking what I'm thinking, right? There's no way it's not Julio if he's playing.
It's Julio. I think a couple of weeks ago I talked about him on my panic list about, hey, even when he first comes back, I'm probably not going to start him. But you know what? I changed my mind. Here's why. He's not even listed with an injury. He's not even on the injury report, right? So to me, that's like a full go Julio. The Falcons need Julio. This offense has not been as good without him. I got to go. This
little monster keeps getting in the way, so I'm just going to make him on the show.
Yeah, that's fine. You don't want to bench Julio and have him go off for 25, 30-point game or something because you were worried about him being hurt. You got to start Julio here. Got to start Julio.
Yeah, and that's the thing. No injury designation means he got his rest. He's good to go. So I get being nervous. Like, you should have been nervous the last couple of weeks, but this week he should be fine. And you know what? I've got to think they really want to get it involved because they actually want to win a game this year. So
yeah. All right. John Kaplan asks, pick two between Debo, Shenault, Brandon Cooks, or Rashard Higgins. Or maybe it's T. Higgins. He just said Higgins. Maybe it's T. Higgins. Let's assume it's T. Higgins.
Let's assume hopefully T. Higgins, but still, yeah. I like Higgins, but yeah, it's a tough matchup against Indy, and I don't think we can necessarily trust what he's going to do. I love Shenault. I'm putting him in my lineup if I have him.
Yeah.
So to me, that's one. Higgins, I would say no, compared to the other guys. Who else was it?
Debo and Brandon Cooks.
I'm off of Debo this week. I know we talked about that wide receiver. We actually talked specifically about him and wide receiver start sit, right?
Yeah.
Versus Cooks. Which Cooks are we going to get? That's what we don't know. I probably would lean Cooks as my section. Shenault and Cooks, I guess, would be my two.
I'm with you on Shenault. You got to play him. It's tough between Debo and Cooks for me. The thing with Cooks is, like, I feel like you're chasing points again because we haven't seen him, and then all of a sudden, bam, he has this huge breakout game, and now everybody's like, oh, play Brandon Cooks, it's fine. Debo has a tough matchup, but Debo's going to get involved different ways. They're going to use him on those end arounds, screens. So I like Debo here, but if you need the upside, if you need that home run, then go with Brandon Cooks because we know he can do that. So that's kind of my view on it. If you need like a safe floor play because you're projected to just destroy your opponent or something, then go Debo. But if you need a home run, go Cooks. All right, yeah, Brett asks, what's that?
No, I said that makes sense. Like I said, to me, the Rams, that secondary is for real. So it just makes me a little nervous. But yeah, they'll try to get the ball in his hands. It's just that whole offense right now makes me nervous, with Garoppolo coming back. So
that's true. All right, Brett High asks, Connor, Kupp, Gaskin or Gibson this week, full PPR. Ooh. Man, see, okay, hold on real quick. This is why leagues need more flex spots. You should not have to decide between James Conner, Cooper Kupp, or Myles Gaskin. Like, you shouldn't have to make that decision. Your league needs more. You should not get punished for having good players on your team. But anyways, that's why every league should add next year. Make it your goal to add more flexes in your fantasy football league, so you don't have to make these stupid decisions.
We'll make a I think we'll have to make a viewer flex league, right? Because we got one right now with a lot of fantasy analysts. It's pretty serious, but let's do one where you guys can get involved too, because it's pretty fun. It makes it a lot more interesting. And, the draft is more important also. But yeah, okay. So this team, he's got to sit 3 of those guys. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, he didn't say pick 3. He just said between these 4 guys, full PPR. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you should not have to bench. Really, you shouldn't have to bench any of these guys. Most people are like, would be happy starting Gibson this week, and you're having, you know what I mean? Like, but whatever. Here we are.
All right. I mean, that's good that you got those options.
Maybe they just start 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, and 1 flex. I don't know.
Who knows? Anyways, good on you. If that's who you got on your bench, that's great. To me, it's not Gibson just yet. I like him rest of the season, but maybe not yet, especially over Connor. And then Kupp is almost a must start, especially because that secondary, San Francisco is banged up. So I would say probably Kupp for me, but it's close between Kupp and Connor. But if it's full PPR, then I think to me it's Kupp.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those situations where whatever you do, you're probably going to be upset by the end of the day. Like, it's for sure it's between Connor and Kupp. You're going to put one in your lineup, and either he's going to go off and the other guy won't, and you're going to be like, yeah, I made the right choice, or the opposite's going to happen and you're going to throw your phone, right? Because it's ridiculous. Like, these are every week must start guys, and you're having to decide between them. So I don't know. I kind of lean Connor. But again, because we've seen, like, he's the workhorse. He's getting all the work. He's going to get work in the passing game. But again, Kupp is a great play too. So I don't know. Pick your poison, basically. Like,
both are good choices.
Have to make this decision.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And again, you can see we disagree because, again, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's just going to come down to, at the end of the day, one guy is going to outscore the other, and you're either going to have him in your lineup or you're not. And it sucks, but that's the way it goes. Playing a league with more flex spots.
There you go.
Okay, Burger D asks, Kyler Murray. This is a tough one. Wow, how do you have both of these? Well, I guess I can see it. Kyler Murray or Aaron Rodgers? And
all right. Again, both good choices. I don't think you can go wrong. So for this one, you have to look definitely at the matchup, right? Because talent's not an issue. I'm probably a little higher on Rodgers this week. I say that I have them right next to each other in my rankings, right? Number 2, number 3. I mean, I had them both as top 3 quarterbacks, so it doesn't really matter. Dallas's defense, especially in the secondary, it's worse than Tampa's. But think about who's going to really get more opportunity to put up points, right? Do we see Rodgers having a heavy pass game? Is it going to be more Aaron Rodgers? Well, Tampa Bay is one of the better run defenses around. Not quite a funnel defense, but I think that we could see a shootout between Rodgers and Brady. With Murray, he's been off a little bit as far as throwing interceptions. He's going to give you the floor because of his legs, obviously. So, I mean, they're both good picks. I would say if you want to play it safer, you go with Murray. If you want your quarterback looking for a huge game, I would go Rodgers.
Yeah, I agree. This is another one of those where you're going to have to pick one. There's no wrong answer because they both are in great spots this week. I like them both as, like top 5 options, maybe like top 7 options. And you just got to hope the one you play outscores, or they both come close in points and you feel okay about it at the end of the day. But I'm going to lean Kyler Murray only because I always lean the quarterback that runs. Because like you said, like Kyler Murray can run in a touchdown, get you 60, 70 yards on the ground, right? If he does that, that's 12, 13 points right there. It doesn't even really matter what he does in the passing game. But again, you can't really go wrong here. I like them both a lot. So, yeah.
Well, let me add this too. It depends on your scoring as always. if you have 4 points or maybe 6 points per passing touchdown, which some leagues do, right? If it's more than three, then I might lean Rodgers. If your league penalizes more heavily for interceptions, then that might make you want to fade Murray a little bit,
True.
because Rodgers doesn't throw interceptions. Murray has been throwing one almost every game. So, it depends on how that works. But
That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, Warren Wu asks, this is a good one. Cobb or Golden Tate? Oof.
That's a tough one. I don't know if it's a good one in terms of your choices. Not like that other team that was stacked, but no, I get they're both playable. Cobb has been really hard to trust. Going against Tennessee, and then you got Golden Tate going against Washington. I would probably lean slightly towards Tate, even though he really hasn't had any big games. We thought he might have a big game last week, and he really didn't. But I don't know. I feel like he's less likely to give you a 0.
Yeah, I lean slightly to Tate as well. But this is like a coin flip. But like you said, Tate I know will be involved. He'll get you some receptions. And I do feel like Tate's due for a game, but I guess that whole Giants offense is due for a game. So maybe that's a terrible way to look at it. But yeah, it's close here, but I like Tate just because I feel a little safer about the floor there. All right, Mike Davies asks, tight end one, Ebron, Fells, Schultz, or Irv Smith, half PPR?
Ooh, all right, now we get to the tight end. It gets juicy. Those are all interesting streamer options. I'm tempted to say right off the bat Ebron just because Deontay Johnson is out, and that's kind of what's been, the telling sign for Ebron to get involved. I know Schultz seems like the, most obvious pick there because he's done the most. But again, that's with Dak Prescott. He wasn't very involved once Dalton came. I knew it was just the end of the game, but still, is Dalton the guy in his career who's gone to the tight end very much? Not really. And Schultz, I think we're still living on those, that one big game, and then he had a decent other game, but I don't know that he's trustworthy enough that I would say I would put him over one of those other guys. I actually really like Irv Smith Jr., probably way too much this week. So to me, it's between Ebron and Smith because I see the ceiling being highest with those two. Man, I don't know. All right, you're probably looking at this very differently, though.
Yeah, I like Ebron this week. I had him as my boom of the week, especially in half PPR, because I feel like, tight end, with your streaming tight end, you're always really looking for touchdowns anyways, right? Because you're not looking for a guy to catch 6-7 passes and get you 80 yards it might happen. So I really like Ebron this week. Again, Cleveland very bad against the pass. I know they're not like terrible against tight ends, but I think Ebron has the best chance out of those guys to catch a touchdown. Because I like Big Ben this week. I think he could have like a 3 or 4 touchdown game. So Ebron could certainly get one of those.
Yeah, and I'll just say with Smith, if you look purely at the matchup, it should be Smith because the Falcons are the worst at defending the tight end this year. And we know that team is kind of in shambles. And then Smith now all of a sudden got involved and things were good last week. I mean, they lost, but barely. So it's tempting to go Smith, but I think Ebron is probably the smarter play, but it's close for me.
Yeah. All right. D. Warwick asks, Deebo Samuel or Damian Harris, full PPR?
I'll say what I said before. I'm off of Deebo this week, and I think Harris is startable. Not a great play, but to me, I would rather go Harris.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and just saw that JJ Taylor is not active for the Patriots. That means it's only Harris, James White, and Rex Burkhead. So I expect Damian Harris to get plenty of touches in this one, and he always has a chance, right? He's going to be the goal line back. I agree. In a better matchup, I'd like Deebo, but in this matchup, I agree with you, Damian Harris. Lucky Numberize, full PPR, flex one of these. Wow, this is this league, either this is like a 16 league or you really do need more flexes. Mike Evans, Miles Sanders, or Joe Mixon. What are we even talking about here? Come on, these guys are every week must starts. How do you have to flex one of these guys?
Wow. Okay. Either you did some really, really great, amazing things in the trade market, or it's like an 18 league, maybe 16. Okay. So we have to pick just one of those guys.
Just one of these guys. And it's full PPR.
Okay. So you said, so Evans, Mixon, and
Miles Sanders.
To me, not Miles Sanders, just because Philly offense. Yeah, tough matchup. Mixon, terrible matchup. I know Godwin's back, but Evans, I think, will get enough looks, and I might go. You said full PPR, right?
Yeah.
So, give me the receiver. Honestly, most weeks it wouldn't be that way. I would go with a guy like Mixon, but yeah, this week I kind of think it might be Evans because if he's healthy, right? They say he's healthy.
Yeah, go with Evans, especially. I think this game's going to be a shootout. I think there's going to be I think it's going to be back and forth. So I do like Evans, but this is ridiculous that you have to decide between these three guys. That's just ridiculous. All right, Stephen James asks, Chase Edmonds, Travis Fulgham, or I assume Brandon Cooks, full PPR for his flex.
Not Fulgham. We know that. I go to Edmonds. I mean, I like what he's doing. No, he's not the workhorse. He may not get a ton of touches, but you see what he's done with them. And I mean, going against Dallas, he can be very productive in the touches he does get. So that's Edmonds for me.
I agree. Edmonds here. We've seen that he's done work. He's going to get you points. Whereas Cooks, yeah, he's got that upside, but he's got that no floor either. So, all right, James Underwood asks, Brandon Cooks, Tim Patrick, or McCole Hardman, full PPR.
McCall Hardman's an interesting player. We've heard a lot of talk about him this week because I mean he always has that home run ability, right? Matchup almost doesn't matter for him. It's like, are they going to hit him deep or not? And it could happen, but I mean, to me, he's always more of that desperation flex play, right? Like you have nobody else. Like, okay, so I'll flex Hardman and hope he scores. I mean, that's kind of it, right? He's not going to get targeted more than 4 or 5 times ever, pretty much. So I can't start Hardman. Cooks, we kind of already talked about, right? And then what was the first option? I think I'm going with the first option.
Tim Patrick?
No, not Tim Patrick. It had to be somebody else. Who was the other option?
That was it. Cooks, Tim Patrick, or Hardman?
I like Tim Patrick in general, honestly. I liked him. I loved him last week when Stephon Gilmore was out, but Gilmore is playing, right? I mean, I think from what I hear, he's clear.
I believe so, yes. I haven't heard that he's not, so I believe he's in.
Okay. So given the fact that, last week I liked Patrick, but I guess I would go Cooks then in this situation.
I'm surprised. I'm going Hardman because we know Sammy Watkins is out. So give me that upside with Patrick Mahomes. I know you got Kelsey. I know you got Clyde Edwards-Helaire by himself for one more week. I know you have the other wide receiver, but we've seen Hardman be involved even with Watkins out there. I talked about, I think this is going to be a shootout. So I'm going to go with the upside of Hardman because all these guys have risks. So give me the massive upside of Hardman. All right. I think we answered one for this guy, but we'll do it again. Burger D asks, this is a good problem to have, and yes, it is. James Robinson against Detroit or Hunt against Pittsburgh?
Actually, I'm going Robinson. He's been creeping up my rankings. I'm usually kind of a wait and see guy. Like I want to see what happens, all this preseason hype, whatever. We've seen it. He's the guy. No one else is even touching the ball in the backfield, not even as a pass catcher. They even say they want to get him more involved. And against Detroit, I mean, you have to start Robinson unless your team also has, like every other starting running back that matters, like Zeke and whatever. Hunt is, you think he's a no-brain starter, but again, the Steelers have been suffocating running backs. So I know he'll get his out of the backfield, but I like Robinson better.
See, I still got to go Hunt here. Robinson had a great matchup last week and didn't do a lot with it. That's always the risk here is that they fall behind and he's not really getting much. Whereas, yeah, Hunt had a tough matchup last week too, and we know he's going to get work out of the backfield in the passing game. We know he's going to get almost all the carries. Like we barely saw Dearness Johnson last week. And he's going to get all the goal line work. So even though, yeah, it is a tough matchup on paper, I still got to go Kareem Hunt. I mean, to me, he's just an every week set and forget guy right now while Chubb is out.
Both these guys are. I mean, you can't go wrong, really.
Yeah, again, good problem to have. Okay, here's one for you. Again, apologize if I mispronounce your name. Varun Gopinath asks, AP or Damian Harris?
That is interesting. Yeah, we haven't heard about AP. And I see he's got a questionable tag too, but I don't think that it's anything that's going to keep him out. I generally avoid the Lions backfield if at all possible. It's really tough. I actually have them neck and neck in my rankings too. I actually would go with Harris though, because Peterson will get, his share of carries. Jacksonville's defense is not good, but they're a lot worse against the pass. And I think this might actually wind up being surprisingly more of a pass heavy game on both sides.
I actually like Adrian Peterson this week. I think he's sneaky. Jacksonville's really bad against the run. Detroit could get out to an early lead here. I like him a lot, actually. I like him a lot. I like Harris too, but I think I like Adrian Peterson a little bit more. But this is close. This is a tough one for sure. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Eric Chavez 5, Kenyon Drake, DJ Chark, or Devin Singletary half PPR. Oof.
Those are like our least favorite players ever. At least a running back. I've never been a Singletary guy. I know you've never been a Drake guy. Like Chark, but is he healthy? Well, he's playing apparently. So I would go with Chark just because we know that when he's on the field, he's got upside to be top 20 receiver every week. And it's a good matchup. So again, if Chark's good to go and he's playing a full, complement of snaps, I go with Chark.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't like it. I don't really like any of these guys. But yeah, they said he's active, so I assume he's good to go. I'll go with Chark, but not loving it. All right, Tim Foley, 1 PPR, flex one of these guys between, wow, is this where we're really at? DJ Moore, James White, McKinnon, or T. Higgins?
Wow, now that's interesting.
Who would have thought for the season we'd be asking, are you going to flex DJ Moore or James White? Because really, I think those are the only two options here, right? Like we can't play McKinnon at this point from what we saw, right? Do you agree with me on that, or do you have a?
Yeah, no, and as much as we love McKinnon, I mean, not very involved. That offense, like I said, is shaking this matchup. No, it can't be McKinnon. T. Higgins, I know he can do some things, but it's a terrible matchup too. Yeah. I have DJ Moore all the way down, almost as my wide receiver 30 this week because it's a terrible matchup. But I just saw now Curtis Samuel looks like he's out. So that kind of guarantees him a bigger target share. So it's got to be Moore, even though I hate him this week.
Yeah, I agree. I got to go with DJ Moore. But man, wow, here we are. We're asking if we should flex DJ Moore or James White. And it's not even like a crazy question. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought?
It's a weekly game, right? I mean, every week you can say a guy. I mean, there's nobody who's an every week absolute must start. Clyde Edwards-Helaire all of a sudden now, is he an every week must start after Le'Veon Bell comes back? We don't know. I mean, probably, but he's not going to be an RB1 each week. We know that. So things change. Just saying.
Okay. Trivial Problems asks, oh man. Okay. He needs 2 running backs, a wide receiver, and a flex. What? Okay. Can you remember all this? He needs 2 running backs, a wide receiver, and a flex. Connor, James Robinson, Mostert, Kupp, Crowder, Chark. So 2 running backs and a flex. So to me, it's Connor and James Robinson are your 2 running backs, right? Do you agree with me on that?
Over Mostert was the other choice?
Mostert and Gaskin. And then
yeah,
Kupp Kupp's got to be his flex. Or Kupp is his wide receiver, right?
Mm-hmm. I got, honestly, looking at my rankings right now, I got in the RB rankings. Okay, well, Robinson's the top 10 running back. I got Connor 14, Mostert 15, Gaskin 16.
Okay, so Connor and Robinson is his running backs. Kupp is his wide receiver. So that leaves a flex between Mostert, Gaskin, and Crowder. I'm going to assume DJ Chark is out.
Mostert or Crowder.
Yeah, full PPR.
Full PPR, you know what? It's kind of that floor ceiling debate, right? If you want, potential for the big play, the big game, Mostert. If you want the safe route, then it would be Crowder. But I might lean Crowder anyways. Although it's tough to say that. It's full PPR against Miami. It's a good matchup. So yeah, probably Crowder.
Crowder has had at least 7 catches and 100 yards in every game he's played this year. It's crazy. And he's not. If he was on another team, we'd be going nuts about Jamison Crowder right now. But he's on the Jets, so nobody cares. So I agree. I think it's Crowder. He's basically their only guy, especially with Le'Veon Bell gone now. they have no one else to throw to. Yeah, I think incredibly, I think it's Crowder.
Yep.
Okay. Whit Reinar, again, apologize if I mispronounced your last name. PPR, he needs to sit one. McLaurin, Juju, or Claypool. Ooh.
He needs to sit one of those.
Yeah.
Keep Juju plugged in. I would still keep him in over Claypool at this point. Yeah, I mean, you have to play Juju, so don't sweat the last couple of weeks. And then McLaurin, I don't see how you could sit him either. Even though we were saying you want Claypool in your lineup, but if you have those other two options, you can't put him over those two.
Yeah, I agree. I am nervous about McLaurin with his usage without Dwayne Haskins, but I think you got to roll him out this week. Now, if this week he's not getting the looks, then you can start freaking out about him. But I think you got to roll him out this week.
And I get that there's legit concern. There's some people talk about if he's going to get shadowed by Bradbury. That's a concern that definitely could limit him. But that's still that offense. It runs through him. I mean, there's nobody else they're going to throw to really. So I think if we see a healthy Kyle Allen, might do some things. He's going to look his way. So I do feel a little bit better. If that's the sense. But I get it. This could be. We have to kind of put that disclaimer here. This could be a game where McLaurin definitely lets you down. But we don't know that for sure that Claypool will do things for, so.
Okay. Jordan Harrison asks, half PPR, needs one in this flex. Damian Harris, Brandon Cooks, or Philip Lindsay?
I feel like we're hearing a lot of the same names over and over, right? Yeah, you don't know what to do with Harris or Cooks because they've just been, Cooks has been mad inconsistent, and then Harris we've only seen once. So you said, okay, say it again. You pick one.
Yeah, Harris, Cooks, or Lindsay. To me, it's pretty obvious, but
I think it's got to be Lindsay.
Yeah, it's got to be Lindsay. He's going to get the majority of the work with Gordon out, and it's a tough matchup, but it's not like a horrible matchup. So, Tito W. And would sitting DJ Moore versus Chicago for Fulgham versus Baltimore be crazy? Yes.
Yes, because now if you had said sit DJ Moore 4 and then listed another player I had higher up, then it wouldn't be crazy. But yeah, I'm not a Fulgham guy, and it's not like it's a better matchup. So don't expect great things from Moore, but don't expect Fulgham to necessarily, do better. Now, of course, we say that and he's going to go for like 150 yards. But you know what? If he does, I'll eat the L. I was wrong, okay? But I'm not expecting that.
Yeah. All right. Again, apologize if I mispronounce your name. Guillaume Piquet asks, he needs 4 between Ridley, Fuller, Godwin, Crowder, or Claypool, half PPR. I think this seems pretty obvious to me.
Okay, Ridley, yes. Start.
Fuller,
Godwin, yes.
Godwin, yes.
Godwin, yes. Fuller, yes. What were the other two?
It's Crowder. Or Claypool.
Yeah, Crowder's a yes. So it's got to be Claypool by default just because your other receivers are better, not because we're down on Claypool. Good matchup. He's going to get involved. Deontay Johnson's out. All signs point to yes, except that all your other 4 receivers just happen to be better. So that's good. Good job.
Yeah, exactly. Rob D asks, standard scoring, McKissick or Burkhead?
Oh, man. All right. So if it's standard scoring, yeah, you can't. Well, I mean, that's probably a deeper league. For standard scoring, yeah, it can't be McKissick because his only value comes from catching the ball. So Burkhead's, to me, got a greater chance of scoring a touchdown, basically.
Yeah. If this was full PPR, I'd go McKissick because he is getting involved in the passing game quite a bit.
Right.
I still might lean McKissick. I just worry that Damian Harris and Cam Newton are going to get the goal line work. So you need Burkhead to break off a big run. It's half PPR, so that does kind of limit McKissick a little bit, but he could still have 4, 5, 6 catches in this game. I'm going to go McKissick, but I mean, this isn't like I'm not really super high on either of these guys. So, I don't know.
I mean, to me, they're both so limited with their touches. I mean, if you're not counting anything for their receptions, it's either yardage, which is going to be almost surely under 50 yards. So it doesn't really matter. You're just hoping for a touchdown. So to me, who's got a better chance of getting a touchdown? It's Burkhead.
Okay. Fair. I mean, again, I pick one and hope for the best, right? All right. G McPhee 123 asks, this PPR, McLaurin or AJ Brown?
Oh man, as far as I've seen, AJ Brown is good to go, no health issues, so it's got to be him.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, yeah, it's
Yeah,
AJ Brown.
AJ Brown. He looked great in his first game back. I expect this to be another game, another shootout. And Tannehill has been playing incredible. I was wrong on Tannehill. I got to go AJ Brown. All right, Patrick Roche asks Rams D or Dolphins D.
Right, that's my kind of question. I would go Rams just
Yeah,
because not just that they're obviously a better unit, but I know it's tempting to go against the Jets. It's not like Flacco was throwing, interception after interception. He's going to manage the game, right? He's not going to be trying to make plays. Like he's just happy to be on the field at this point in his career. So yeah, the Rams. We saw what San Francisco's offense looked like last week. They're not like rolling over teams, so you can get some picks from Garoppolo too.
yeah, I got to go Rams. I talked about Miami in my defensive streamers video that I posted yesterday, but I also mentioned there that I like them better against Darnold because Darnold will throw interceptions. Like you said,
That's
Flacco
true.
didn't throw an interception last week. I mean, he didn't do anything. He threw like one touchdown and barely over 100 yards, but he's just going to be safe. Rams have way more upside. All right, Michael Sappenfield asks Jonathan Taylor or Miles Gaskin in full PPR.
Well, to me, it's pretty obvious it's Taylor. I mean, there's no reason not to start Taylor. I got him as my number 3 running back this week. Cincinnati, terrible against the run. They're going to give Taylor probably, I think, 25 or more carries.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not that high on Taylor just because he hasn't been getting the usage that we think we just assume he's a every week top 10. Don't worry about it, but he hasn't really been. But yeah, I like Taylor more. The matchup is great here. Ko Nien, again, apologize if I mispronounce your name. A tight end one for you. You'll like this. Ooh, this is a good one for you. Fells or Irv Smith? This is right up. This is like right up your alley right here. This is why
My favorite streamers. Yes, Fells was my guy last week. If you remember, we do boom bust right for our start sit, and last week Fells was my boom, and sure enough, 57 yards and a touchdown. You're welcome. This week I got Smith, so I would still lean Smith. That matchup is it's too good to ignore. The fact is they actually got him involved. I've got to think they'll look at that and they'll say, hey, that worked. He caught the ball, got 4 catches, 64 yards. It's helped our offense. We're going to go back to him, and it's going to be really easy against Atlanta. I actually do like Fells again this week as a streaming option, just because I think Akins is out again, but I got Smith higher.
Yeah, I agree. Smith for me. All right, Chris Colidi asks, drop Matt Ryan for Big Ben?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. And here's the thing about Big Ben. He's been playing good. He's already had his bye now, right? So you don't have to worry about that.
Yep.
If you pick up Big Ben right now, not only do you get a great matchup this week, but you get him for the rest of the season, and you don't have to worry about buys anymore, assuming COVID,
Exactly.
which is always a possibility.
Yeah, we're
James
going to assume
Devin.
that's just over.
Yeah, Stafford or Brady this week?
Stafford or Brady? I got to go Stafford based on matchup.
I agree. Stafford. I like Stafford a lot this week. Sam Desh, Justin Jefferson or Kenny Galladay? Who has a higher ceiling? I think it's the same guy for both questions. So
yeah, both are good options, obviously, but it's got to be Galladay.
Yeah, gotta be Galladay. Great matchup. Stafford's been looking his way. Definitely Galladay. Ooh,
he's the wide receiver 1. Clearly, the wide receiver 1 on his team. Jefferson's the wide receiver 2, and that's.
Yeah. This is I think we lost you. All right, well, I'll keep going. Hopefully he'll jump. Hopefully Pierre will get back on here with us. Full PPR, Odell or David Montgomery? This is a tough one. I like both these guys a lot this week. I'm going to go with Odell. I think he has a higher ceiling in that great matchup, even though, you're back. Okay. We lost it there. We lost it there for a second. This is a tough one. So I was just going on my own. So I only got to the next question. This is a tough one for me. Full PPR, Odell or David Montgomery?
Oh, I know you had Montgomery as your boom. You love Montgomery this week. I love him too.
I have Odell as my boom too. This is another thing where you should not have to make this decision. You should not get punished for having 2 good players on your team. You're in a league that needs to change because you should not get punished. And one of these guys are going to be on your bench, and that's not right. That's not right.
Yeah, full PPR maybe makes a difference for me. You got to lean toward the receiver. So I probably go Odell just because, and we've seen him have a huge game this year. And then Montgomery, I mean, how big a game do you think he really could have? You know,
Carolina, they've given up a top 3 running back finish every week to everybody not named Kenyon Drake. And even Chase Edmonds in that game had like 15 points and he barely got the ball. So that's why it's tough for me. Like
yeah.
But I
No,
agree.
I hear that, but I mean, to me, I mean, Odell Beckham has week winning upside, and I don't know
Yeah.
that Montgomery will necessarily ever have that. You know what I mean? I don't expect him
No.
to get 150 yards, 3 touchdowns, that kind of thing. Odell Beckham definitely could.
Yeah, I agree. I like Odell, but man, it sucks that you have to bench David Montgomery. That's ridiculous. All right.
Yeah.
Dan Nemo asked Jared Goff or Matt Ryan.
Um, I'm kind of down on both this week, to be honest. I know I was too down on Goff last week. He kind of went off, but um, it's tough because San Francisco, that defense, I mean, obviously there's still a good defense. There's so many injuries, and now they're banged up in the secondary too. And it's hard to trust Ryan, but I still have Ryan higher because of the matchup, and Julio is back. So that gives me some confidence. So I don't love either guy, but I do have Ryan a little bit higher.
See, I'm gonna say Jared Goff. This is a tough one. Um, I just can't trust Matt Ryan in this matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got to go Goff, but it's close. It's definitely close.
Yeah.
All right, 21 Ash Patel asks, pick 2 between Juju, Claypool, Boyd, or DJ Chark. I think we both agree Juju, he's in your lineup. Like, Juju is one of them
Juju's
for
one.
sure. So
Yeah.
it's between Chark, Boyd, or Claypool.
Kind of what we've been saying. Love Claypool, and this week is not bad for him, but again, he's the. I mean, it's kind of a committee, I guess, if you want to call it that, for a wide receiver, because they're sharing him pretty equally. But I think Boyd's going to get fed more. Chark should get fed more, and it's a better matchup for Chark. I think I'm a little higher on Chark this week than you are, just because the injury concern. But looking real quick, I have Boyd kind of right there with him. So it's a tough call. To me personally, I usually like to chase upside more than the playing it safe kind of role. And I feel like Boyd is kind of just safe, but not exciting. I'd rather go with Chark.
So you like Boyd and Chark over Claypool?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I like Claypool because, again, with no Deontay Johnson, I feel like he has most upside of these guys with no Deontay Johnson. So I would actually play the Steelers stack, the Juju, Claypool. One of those guys should have a big game at least, and the other one should have an okay
game. That's true, and you could do that. I mean, you could definitely. My only worry, honestly, is because I know it seems obvious that Pittsburgh against Cleveland's secondary, they're going to go off. We could see a lot of Connor. We could see a lot of the Browns trying to keep the the game slow and run the ball like they always do. So I'm not 100% convinced this will be a shootout. You know what I mean? But yeah, you can't go wrong, I don't think, necessarily with Claypool.
All right, Tin Tadjik, again, apologies if I mispronounced your name. DJ Chark or DJ Moore? Battle of DJs here.
I'm going Chark.
Ooh.
The Bears shut down receivers. They shut them down.
I know they do.
And so Moore hasn't been great this year.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's really close. It's really close. I'm just really scared that DJ Chark is not 100% and that he just goes out there and doesn't do anything. I'm gonna go DJ Moore, but it's a coin flip for me. It's really close.
Yeah, it's close, and but yeah, like I said, I go upside. I'm down on Moore this week. I got to stick with it because it's just not. It's not a good matchup. Let's put it that way. Definitely not a good matchup. All right, we got time. I think I'm good for maybe 2 more questions.
Okay. Yeah, man asks Chase Claypool or Robert Woods standard scoring. I think this one's pretty.
It's Woods. You don't bench Woods.
Yeah. Board prodigy. Adrian Peterson or Chase Edmonds in flex full point PPR. I think we both agree on this.
Full PPR.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's full PPR, you go with the guy who actually catches passes. So that's Edmonds.
That's Edmonds. All right, Leo Paival, again, apologies. Flex, Gaskin, Chark, or Devontae Parker, full PPR?
Oh, I think Parker is definitely the highest for me out of that group.
Ooh, I kind of like Gaskin this week in a good matchup against the Jets. I like Gaskin.
Yeah, well, Parker also has a good matchup in the Jets. So that's
Oh
the
man, he's only had like one really big game this year, but I do like Fitzpatrick this week too. So yeah, it's close. It's close.
it is close. I mean, I like Gaskin, don't get me wrong, but yeah, I think to me, if it's full PPR, you got to go with Parker.
All right, Carlos Nunez, pick 3 PPR. Julio Jones, you're playing Julio Jones. Julio Jones, Devontae Parker, Juju, Cole Beasley, Debo Samuel, or Fulgham. Pick 3. I think it's pretty obvious. It's Jones, Parker, and Juju, right?
It's the first three. I mean, like,
Yeah,
no doubt.
first 3. Let's see if we can get like Cole Morrison, David Montgomery, or Devin Singletary. 100% David Montgomery, right?
Yeah.
Dave to Britt in PPR. Who do I flex? Hunt, Miles Sanders, Woods, Edelman, or Boyd. What the heck? Okay, again, you shouldn't have to make this choice, but I gotta.
We're
I'm gonna
picking
go
one.
with, what's that?
Picking one of those.
Picking one of those. Hunt, Miles Sanders, Woods, Edelman, or Boyd in full PPR. I gotta go Hunt. But what do you think?
Man, it's between Hunt and Woods. I might prefer Woods if it's full PPR.
Okay, yeah, it's between those two guys, and it sucks. You gotta make that choice. McCauley 824 half PPR. Chenault or Boyd?
I actually kind of like Chenault better, even with Chark playing.
Yep, I agree. Let's see. How much time we got? Time for one or two more quick ones?
Yeah.
See if I can find like one that's pretty. No, come on. Okay, look. If you're asking about Julio Jones, you're playing Julio Jones. Okay, you're playing Julio Jones.
Yeah. This week you don't have to worry.
Yeah. How about this one? Okay, we'll do one more. Grant McFadden, last one, and then we got to go, guys. Although we do have a tight end one. Maybe we'll finish with that tight end one. Okay, Grant McFadden, full point PPR. McLaurin, Slayton, or Chenault?
That's an interesting question, and that's a tough decision. I understand why you're asking. That's a tough call because you hate to bench McLaurin. We talked about there's some concerns with him, especially at Bradbury all over him this week. So I might lean towards Chenault. Again, if you had seen DJ Chark out, you would love Chenault. That would be an easy call almost. I still might go Chenault though, because I really do like what he's bringing to the table. And Slayton, if go what I've been saying too, if you need the hope for a home run play, you might go Slayton, but I think Chenault's probably your best bet.
Okay. All right, last one, just because I know you like the tight ends, but I'm pretty sure I know you're picking here. PPR, Hawkinson or Ingram? Who you got?
Gonna go with Hawkinson this week. I have him actually much higher than I usually do. Although I don't mind Ingram, but it's just too inconsistent. So this week I'm going Hawkinson.
Yeah, I agree. I really like Hawkinson this week. All right, guys. We got to get going. Appreciate all you guys who were watching with us, who asked questions. We're here every Sunday. We do this live every Sunday morning, answering your start sits, telling you breaking news. So feel free to join us again next Sunday. If you still have comments that we didn't get to, or if you still have questions we didn't get to, ask them in the comments below, and we'll get to those. We got kickoff here in about 50 minutes. So enjoy the games, everybody.